kind of were waiting for it to be released on something. There's been rumors that it would come out on Netflix in a week, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's fucking $8. Like, literally, my burrito for lunch cost more than it yesterday. I just bought it on Amazon because I wanted to watch it. So
Now we own it.
now we own it. And I mean, after watching it once, I'm happy I own it. It's something I would probably watch again. It's one of those. Now, like I said, A24 movie directed by the Safdie brothers, Benny and Josh, considered a crime drama thriller. What's interesting about this movie is if you look at the numbers, it's either you love it or hate it because the audience score is literally at 51%
I was
on
kind of
Rotten
surprised
Tomatoes.
to see that.
The critic score is at 92, but I don't give a fuck about those critic scores anyway.
Well, I care about the critics.
I'm like the audience. Just like I don't overvalue my opinion, I don't care what critics have to say. I like the audience.
I care what they have to say. I try not to put too much emphasis on it.
Right.
But I do care what they have to say because I think, well, especially because I personally like some weird movies that I know a lot of people don't like. And so a lot of times the audience score isn't, super accurate to me.
That's true.
Personally.
At the end of the day, all that matters is your opinion. But it's the same way, like you just said, I think, critics sometimes have just They
do. I agree.
They have agendas. I feel like they get paid to do it. Remember that, money sways people.
Yeah.
So whatever. It's just intriguing that the audience is all the way down to 51, split completely.
Crazy.
But the critics are at 92. And honestly, I can justify the audience score.
I can too.
I could very well see why people think this is a stupid ass movie, but I could also see why people love it, and tend to be on the latter. Same.
And I think for a lot of people, and the Safdie brothers are beginning to be known for these anxiety-inducing movies. I mean, you're definitely anxious through this whole movie. There's multiple reasons for that, including sound mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And just the general demeanor of Adam Sandler. But it makes you anxious, and a lot of people don't like that when it comes to movies. And so like we said, it's kind of one of those movies where at the end you're like, oh, what the fuck, just what happened?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So let's get into it, right? So the story of Uncut Gems revolves around the cheating, charismatic, and pimped out Jewish gemstone dealer. Wow, that's hard to say those words back to back. Howard Ratner, who's played by Adam Sandler, a once upon a time successful New York City gemstone dealer and family man whose life is now in a pit of absolute chaos and debt due to his gambling addiction. Right, his only real friend seems to be his side piece and employee Julia, played by Julia Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what were your expectations going into this movie? Because it has been out for a while. There's been a lot of snub talk. Which I'll get into at the end. But what before watching it, where were you sitting? What did you know? What were your expectations?
So this is not what I thought it was going to be. I'll just say that.
No, but before you watched it, I'm saying.
No, I know. I thought, for some reason in my mind, I had the idea that the main character of Howard was this, super nice family man, almost like a Breaking Bad situation, who gets cancer or some kind of health scare and then has to deal with, obviously it's called Uncut Gems. So I was assuming some kind of maybe illegal gemstone or something. And he has to get himself involved in this to either pay for something or help out his family or something. I don't know. And it definitely wasn't that.
Mm-hmm. So
I didn't realize, and I think this is why there was so much buzz about Adam Sandler's performance in this, because he is definitely playing someone I think that most people have never seen him play before.
Right. So, I didn't have any expectations because I didn't see a trailer, nothing. So I had no expectations.
Yeah.
The only thing I did know that there was a huge argument that he was snubbed for Best Actor. So usually when that happens, I tend to be like a pessimist, and where
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no shot. So then I go into the movie kind of biased with my pre-made agenda. But this time I was like, oh shit, Adam Sandler's supposed to be really good in this movie.
Yeah.
I was giving him the benefit of the doubt going into it. I was just ready for a good performance by him,
Yeah, me
but I
too.
never really looked up, paid attention, or cared about the plot. I just
Right.
figured he was a gangster. That was it.
Okay.
So I didn't think it was like a Breaking Bad. I just figured he was a gangster.
I mean, I don't know where I got that idea.
Yeah, I was just like
No
mob
idea.
boss. So
Yeah.
let's go through it. So Howard owes money to pretty much everyone we see on screen, including his brother-in-law Arno,
Huge gambler.
and thinks that he can finally con his way out of these debts when he gets his hand on a block of rare Ethiopian black opal. Not like the black opals in Breath of the Wild because they're shit.
I think those are just opals.
Oh, that's
Maybe
true.
that's why
They
they're
look black,
shit.
He believes this one rock is potentially worth $1 million at an auction. He has a buyer for it ready, but famous basketball legend Kevin Garnett becomes infatuated with the opal once he lays eyes on it and wants to borrow it because he thinks it will elevate his game during a crucial playoff series against the Philadelphia 76ers. Howard asked KG to hold his championship ring as collateral. Now, what's interesting is this is taking place in 2011, 12. But Joel Embiid was originally casted for this role.
No.
And he was casted, ready to start filming in summer 2018, but then it got pushed back to fall 2018 when basketball season is. So now they needed a retired player.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so it was going to take place in present time? If they use Joel Embiid, because they couldn't use Joel Embiid. They're using real life.
Yeah, they said
Celtics
so
Sixers series from
every
2012.
time somebody got recast. So with Howard, with the basketball player, I mean, there were several iterations of who would be in it. Sacha Baron Cohen was attached for a long time. Jonah Hill was attached for a little bit. Harvey Keitel was attached for a little bit. And
but I know this did wind up circling back to how they originally wanted to do it.
It did,
which is great. But this, not to mention, this it took them what 10 years to make this movie for funding reasons.
They started writing this in 2009.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. So they've changed the timeline.
Yeah, they said every time that they had a new basketball player, there had to be rewrites because it had to fit historically. So they had to research the games. Would it make sense if they were in New York? They said there were over 165 versions of the script.
Wow. I believe that.
Yeah.
I'm reading everything. So I was just curious when watching that. Like, was it supposed to be in 2012? Like Joel Embiid was where's he from? Cameroon or something?
Yeah, he's from,
he was like, we would have been like 12 years old.
Well, that's why they like that so much, because he's from Africa.
Yeah.
And this is about an African opal. Yeah.
So that's interesting. But like we mentioned, Howard is a habitual gambler. He can't control himself and is always looking to make the next big score. So he sees this as some type of insider intel.
Yeah.
Like, oh, KG's about to go off tonight now that I gave him the stone. So what does he do? He temporarily pawns this Kevin Garnett's championship ring.
Yes.
To get cash, because like that goes to show you he's dead broke if he has nothing to even place a bet. And he takes that cash and places a 5-way parlay of prop bets revolving around Kevin Garnett and the Boston Celtics to win versus the Sixers that night. The bet hits, and for a short-lived time, not even a day, he is walking around like his problems have been solved, only to find out that his brother-in-law Arno and his posse of gangsters, bookies, whatever they are, they intervened and stopped the bet from going through, since it was their money he was gambling with anyway. And also, Mike Francesa was the bookie that Howard was placing the bet with. I thought that was pretty cool, especially for the New York area. That's our sports radio guy. So one thing I wanted to mention is that Adam Sandler, I did read that he like went all in with studying this role, where he was like hanging around casinos, sports bookies, things like that, like really trying to absorb what it was like to be, have that type of friction of owing money that you may not have, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. But obviously that was hard for him to do because anytime he was out in public or at a casino somewhere, people were like, oh, Sandler, like, funny guy, let's take pictures, let's do this, whatever. But I just wanted to mention that he did really go like all in learning this role despite originally not even wanting no part of it back in when they approached him in 2011.
Well, apparently though, when they approached him in 2011, his manager didn't even give him the script. Like his manager kind of decided for him, like, you guys are nobodies. I'm not going to waste Adam Sandler's time on this bullshit.
Yeah. Which, I mean, they should have, because that 2010, 2011 time, he was, trying to revamp his dead comedy movie career.
Yeah.
Fucking Grown Ups, Just Go With It, Jack and Jill. Like, these movies were horrible.
Yeah.
That's My Boy came out in 2012, which I actually thought was pretty funny, but it's stupid as hell. Like we said, the Safdie brothers wanted Sandler because they're huge fans of him.
Yeah.
And he said no. So along line of trying to find a cast member, they casted Jonah Hill. Now I find that very interesting because I feel like maybe Jonah Hill would have been considered an Oscar if he played this role.
I think they cast Sacha Baron Cohen first.
Okay.
And then something happened. I can't remember, but it got put on hold. And then when they came back to it, Jonah Hill got cast.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that they were a little worried because Jonah Hill was so young.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that it wouldn't fit the age description.
Right. So they obviously, I'm sure, had to do rewrites. But then
when Sandler got his hands on the script or something.
Well, Jonah Hill directed his movie mid 90s.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, they said he kind of just lost interest. Like, he just wasn't interested in doing this role anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then after Good Time came out, starring Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
I think Adam Sandler saw it at a film festival he was at. And I don't know. Then the ball just kind of got rolling from there.
Yeah, because he, recently too, he's been trying to prove a point that he could do something serious, which he succeeded in this.
Which he has. I think it's worth noting that he has been nominated for a Golden Globe in Punch Drunk Love.
Mm-hmm.
By Paul Thomas Anderson, which I haven't seen and I want to see because I am a Paul Thomas Anderson fan. And a lot of people, like critics, are comparing this performance to Sandler's performance in Punch Drunk Love.
Right.
So he can be a serious good actor.
Right. Well, I'll just say it now that the Oscar snub talk is pretty laughable because compared to the other performances last year, I don't think he should have sniffed that Oscar nomination. I still stand by it. Robert Pattinson was the only person that got snubbed. Not only snubbed, I would have put him second behind Joaquin Phoenix. That's my personal opinion. Again, doesn't matter. That's just my opinion.
Right. And I tend to agree with you. I don't
think this was anything that was like Oscar worth. Like,
I mean,
come on, it was phenomenal by him, but
I think what a lot of people are seeing in this is that, like, watching this movie, it feels almost like a documentary, right? Like, it feels so real, which is a testament to the Safdie brothers and to Adam Sandler and to all the cast that gave great performances. Like, they gave such good performances that it felt like it wasn't even a movie almost.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, and that's like...
There's a lot of realism to this. And you mentioned it before we got into it with the noise and chatter and how that gives you high anxiety. But is that not the most New York thing ever?
Oh, yeah. It's
you know what I mean?
Anybody who has been to New York even once will know there's all kinds of background noise. Constant. There's never silence, even when you're in your apartment.
Yeah,
I lived in New York.
High intensity, high, like you have to walk 15 miles an hour. Like, you talk to people like that. Like,
yeah.
Frustrated fast. Like,
like, if anything, I think they should have been nominated for possibly score and definitely sound editing.
Yeah. Okay.
Or sound mixing.
Yeah, I could see that. One of the two.
For sure. Cause
I think the film itself should have had some nominations, but not Best Actor.
Yeah, like Sandler was just, he would have been up against some really amazing performance. There was, the acting actor category last year was like
one of the best in past decade
it was like
so.
On another level because I said on this podcast when we were going over the Oscars, I was a huge fan of Adam Driver's performance.
Yes. Leo, I didn't see it, but Antonio Banderas was like the best he's ever been.
Yeah.
So I'm saying I don't know.
And then Jonathan Pierce.
Plus, like, another thing, it was hard for me to take him serious at points because it's Adam Sandler. Like, that's just me. Because
Honestly,
I grew up with this guy's comedies.
Yeah.
That, like, almost in the beginning, I was, like, ready for, like, a fun, happy movie until, like, you know, I'm, like, a half hour and remembering that that's not what this is.
Honestly, for me, I think he did do such a good job that I forgot about the fact that it was Adam Sandler.
Oh, yeah. As it progressed, 100%. Me too.
He gave an amazing performance, but I don't think he was snubbed in any way.
So for the rest of the film, everything that can possibly go wrong, or like I mentioned, he gambles the money on that bet and it got stopped by his brother-in-law. But for the rest of the film, everything that can possibly go wrong for Howard Ratner is KG played the game of his life and ditches their meeting the following morning to return the stone, in which Howard needed the stone to submit to the auction that day. Now, Damani, who is Sandler's employee, but the friend of KG, he's leaving him hanging for trying to get the stone back. His mistress is found blowing coke in the bathroom with The Weeknd. More debt collectors are looking for him. It's just mayhem. Like, you could just see the windfall. I'm like, this is what it is, though. When you get into gambling and become addicted, like, that's what it fucking looks like. It's the same for everybody. So, eventually he does get the stone back, but it is wildly underappraised at the auction from his prediction. I forget the actual numbers. He thought he was going to get like 3,000 per carat, and they valued it at like 1,500 per carat.
I think it's even less than that because he thought
125 maybe.
He thought he was going to get $1 million. I think like 1.5 million or something, and they only appraised it for like 150,000. I think.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Like you said, a quarter of the value that he thought. So he winds up asking. I think this is his father-in-law, right?
I think so.
Or was it his father? I think it's his
father-in-law.
He asked him to rig the auction by what he's doing is like, I want you to drive up the price and counter people until we get it to 250,000. So let's just say like that's his magic number for paying off his debts. Like he needs at least that.
Yeah.
But they fail. You know, KG himself would not go higher than 175,000, which he offered him cash beforehand for the stone anyway that he should have just took.
Yeah.
So now he puts his father-in-law in a $190,000 hole because nobody would match him. Just more fucking debt.
Yeah.
Like you said, high anxiety. It's just like, you watch it again, you're like, oh my God, like, this fucking idiot.
Yeah.
What is he doing?
Like, stop it.
So what does he do? There's only one way out of this, right? He calls up KG because KG is obsessed with the stone. He wants it. He's in love, infatuated by it.
Yeah.
They're losing games now. And KG played terrible because he doesn't have the stone anymore.
Yeah.
So he gets in contact with KG to sell it to him. They meet back at his store. KG only offers him 165,000 cash because he gives the other percentage to Damani, his partner,
who is played by Lakeith Stanfield.
Yes, who
is in Atlanta.
In Atlanta and also in Get Out. He's the meme that you see that guy who's always just like,
he didn't Get Out.
Yeah, he's the guy.
Oh my God, he's the guy in the hat. Like yeah.
Nose starts bleeding. That's him.
Yeah. Okay.
So, what the fuck does Howard do once he gets that money cash? Right? Arno, his brother-in-law, and the debt collectors are coming to collect the money. But he duffel bags it and passes it over the window to Julia.
Text her and he's like, go to Joe's, stick your head out the window.
Stick your head out the window. And he has Julia fly to Mohegan Sun and place the entire cash earnings, 165,000, on a three-way parlay of prop bets on Kevin Garnett again in Game 7 of the playoff series versus Philly. Now,
you're really good at watching sports and like realizing the bets are being made the bets are like he's being successful because like you'd be like, oh my God, he only needs like one more point. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I've gambled.
Because I don't bet
my
on
fair
sports
share. Not anything degenerate wise, but you know, it's legal here, so I'm not doing anything wrong. But no, I understand it. I mean,
yeah. I obviously understand
live in
basketball,
New Jersey.
but
like my friends are degenerate sports gamblers. Okay.
Yeah.
I know too many people.
The only sport I've bet on is horse racing, being from Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm picking a random horse.
Hey, I won.
I know. So very high intensity scene as the rest of it plays out because
Yeah.
Howard locks the debt collectors in his little doorway entrance.
It's called something, and I'm blanking on.
Yeah,
the
like
name.
there's an entrance in, and then there's this glass casing before you actually walk into the jewelry store. And obviously, that's always like some bulletproof casing,
Yeah.
especially in New York's Manhattan jewelry district. So he locks the debt collectors in there in this bulletproof entrance and forces them to sweat it out and watch Game 7 with him, and tells them
literally
that
sweating it out. It must
he
be hot in there.
fucking bet all of the money on this 3-game parlay. All of it. And like you said, now I was curious the whole time watching it. I'm like, how true is this going to be to the real life playoff series? Because I knew what happened, that the Celtics won that year and beat Philly. So he wins the bet easily, right? The bet hits. He fucking did it over, I think it was 1.2, 1.3 million.
Yeah.
In cash payout on the 3-way parlay. It's like, hooray!
What he needed.
Howard did it. All your debts are going to be paid off. And
he's like
some.
jumping around.
You got some money
excited.
to spend. KG keeps his unbinding stone. Everyone's all happy. Like, you're starting to get like giddy. But this is an A24 movie. So.
And it's a good movie. I feel like good movies don't have like the happy fairy tale endings.
So what happens is Howard opens the bulletproof entrance to let them out. You could even see the relief in his brother-in-law's face. Arno, like,
he's like, holy shit, he did it.
Kill family members.
Yeah.
But as soon as he opens the door, Phil shoots Howard right in the fucking face. Adam Sandler is dead. Arno screams at him like, what the fuck are you doing? And they fuss around for a little bit, and then boom, Phil pops him right in the face too.
Yep.
And just proceeds to rob the store blind. The jewelry store blind.
Which he's clearly not going to get away with it because there's footage everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
That can't out. So, like, were you expecting that?
A little bit, just because. So, all through the movie, I'm like, this guy is going to get himself killed.
Yeah.
Like, all through the movie. But I'm also thinking, he can't die anytime soon because what character are we going to follow? This is so focused on Howard.
Yeah,
like so in his face,
totally
all
from his
about
perspective.
him.
Yeah.
I still was like shocked by it. Like I loved it. Loved the ending.
It's like you just said. I knew, I was like, this is A24. Like they're not gonna handpick a fairy tale.
Right.
I'm like, something fucked up is gonna happen. But at the exact moment, I was totally off guard. Like I jumped up. I was like, what?
I know. Yeah.
So it was perfect.
I know.
You know, like I always say, look at my left hand and smack you in the face with my fucking right.
Yeah.
Like that was perfect directing.
Storytelling.
Yeah.
Like
I thought it was going to end more of like maybe his kids, because you see his connection with his son getting killed.
Right.
Maybe his wife, maybe losing literally everybody and then being left on the street.
True. Okay.
I thought it was going to end like, because those homeless people in New York, how do you think half of them wind up like that?
Right.
Fucking gambling and drug addictions.
He thought that Phil called somebody while he was in the glass box.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't know who he called. He could have called his other people that were at Mohegan Sun trying to find Julia. But I take it that Howard thought he put a hit on his family.
Yeah.
And so because he calls them and tells them to leave.
There's a gas leak in the town. Get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And then at the end, we do hear his wife saying, I think she's talking to her sister, maybe. Yeah, he was in the back of a trunk, naked. I'm going to call the cops.
Yeah.
Sad.
Very sad. I mean.
And like Julia is all happy with her. She gets the money successfully. She uses the pervy. He might not have been a pervy guy. I think he just was an older man. He wanted some female attention. He
just wanted the company.
He wanted the company. She was able to kind of use him to keep her safe. He picked up the money for her, took it out to the limo for her.
What is she gonna do with $1 million cash in duffel bags?
I don't know.
She's getting hunted down and whacked by those guys too. They're taking that money.
Probably.
For sure. She's going back to that store. She's gonna find them there. You don't think they're gonna be waiting?
She apparently, the actress, is a native New Yorker.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's got that New York attitude.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Never seen him before. I was reading some stuff though that she eventually does want to get into directing. I couldn't find anything notable that she was in before.
I think she's fairly new.
That's just what I like in general about this movie. There's just like no big names in it.
Well, Idina Menzel's pretty big.
Yeah, Sandler, but like
Sandler. But I guess other than that, well, Kevin Garnett, but
yeah,
yeah.
Kevin Garnett, and honestly, he was fucking great.
He was awesome.
I didn't know he could act like that. He played that perfectly.
Yeah.
He also looked 25 again.
Yeah.
What is that about? Is that just
know.
makeup, or is he just aged that well?
I think he just ages that well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they said that I was listening to an interview with them, the Safdie brothers. And, because we were talking about how they went through multiple different basketball players. They are Jewish. They're obsessed with basketball. Even the interview that I was listening to, they started like getting into like this specific game back in like 2009 or something.
Yeah. Now, I was curious about that because I didn't know if that was an Adam Sandler thing or them, because everybody knows Adam Sandler's obsessed with basketball and he's very good with it. Maybe that's also why they like Sandler.
Maybe.
Because he's great at basketball. Every movie that Sandler's been in, he plays basketball in.
Yeah.
At least shoots it.
No, it's totally them. I mean, they used a lot of their own experiences. Like, they're Jewish from New York. Their dad used to work in the Diamond District in New York. He was a
guy named Howard.
Yes.
He was the jeweler.
He was I don't think they called it a runner, where he would kind of like what Howard was doing. You'd see him go to different jewelry stores. He would bring them, certain jewelry, try to sell it to him, maybe buy some stuff. And a lot of times, like, he would go out to East New York, like out in Brooklyn, Long Island, and he had a car, but they said at the time, like back in like late 80s, early 90s, a lot of the, gang members or whoever were trying to rob these jewelry runners would know what car they drove. And while they were in the jewelry store, they would like puncture their tires. And so they wouldn't know that the tires were flat, had been tampered with when they got back in when the runners got back in the car. And so they would start driving, and then like on the highway, they would have to pull over, and then that's when they would get jumped and all the jewelry stolen and stuff. But so the Safdie brothers, huge Knicks fans, of course.
Sadly, I'm with you. Sucks.
But they're
the highest valued sports franchise in the world, and the most depressing by far to follow.
I don't follow them very well.
There's nothing to follow.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't win.
I know.
They don't sign anyone. Nothing.
But they said that when they realized they had to find a recently retired basketball player, they looked at Kevin Garnett, and
I also heard Kobe Bryant was mentioned in this too.
Yeah, so Kobe Bryant was mentioned, and he they wanted to see a script, and so they started rewriting the script for Kobe. So they had to they were like, what year would have made sense that he would have been in New York for a game, come to a jewelry store. There was one. It was his 60-point game at the Garden. They didn't say which year.
Oh, they were going to do that game? But I'm sure that's,
yeah.
Yeah, but see, then they wouldn't really fit because he would only been there for one night.
For one game.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure the story was different. Like they had
rewritten.
True, right. Yeah, they had rewritten the whole script, and like 2 days before they were about to send it to his people, they got back to him and they were like, yeah, actually, Kobe doesn't want to act. He wants to direct. And they were like, what the fuck?
Well, he got his Oscar, so.
He did. But they were not happy about hiring Kevin Garnett because he's Celtics.
Boston Celtics, yeah. We hate fucking. See, that's true New Yorker right there. Thank you.
And when they had their first meeting with him, one of the Safdie bros, I couldn't tell their voices apart when I was listening to because it was on a podcast, and so I couldn't really tell them apart. But one of them was like, I flat out was like, I hate your guts. And that made Kevin Garnett love them because it like proved how much they love basketball.
Oh, yeah.
And they like went through, like, just with their first meeting, they were like, we could tell he was a natural storyteller. Yeah. And that he was going to be able to pull this off.
I've never seen Kevin Garnett like outside of basketball, but he was amazing in it.
He was really good.
Yeah.
And like some people will probably be like, what do you mean he was good? He was playing himself. But a lot of people would clam up and like not be natural.
Yeah. Or just go overboard or something.
And like The Weeknd too. And the Safdie brothers were like, yeah, it was 2012. It was when he was like first coming onto the scene, and like his like known for being a douchebag.
I was gonna say, is he like that because he's like, I'm not fucking performing until the lights are on?
Apparently, like when he first,
I'm not a big Weekend fan.
I'm not either. I've never have been.
They all sound the same. It's like you are the male version of what's her name?
I don't know.
Taylor Swift.
I probably shouldn't say that. Never mind. If any Taylor Swift fans ever listen to this, they're gonna hate us.
I think there's more people that don't like Taylor Swift than like her. So
I doubt it.
Or at least that I know.
I don't think there is. I think there's a lot of people that like her.
You're entitled to your opinion. You're
are
offended. I'm sorry.
Oh, so I didn't know this until I was researching it, but Martin Scorsese is an executive producer.
What? I didn't see that.
Yes.
I did not see that.
Him and Emma Tillinger-Koskoff, who is she's a huge producer, but she's worked with Martin Scorsese on a ton of stuff, like a lot of his films. But this is the Safdie brothers' obviously biggest budget movie they've ever done. Good Time was done for very, very cheap.
Yeah, well, that's why it took them so long. They had a very hard time financing it.
Yeah, and they knew that it needed to have a pretty big budget because we're dealing with the Diamond District. Like, it needed to have a certain level.
They had to make Furbies for 2-second screen time.
Yeah, one of the Safdie brothers told a cool story though, that when they were filming, it was like the very beginning of filming this, and he was on set, and they were like, somebody came to him and said, Idina Menzel needs you to approve an outfit, like a costume fitting. And so he's like, okay. So he went, and he said, where do I need to go? And they said, the costume trailer. He's like, what? We have a costume trailer? And so they told him where it was, and he was walking down the street, and he said he was like close to Times Square, and it was just like tons of film trailers. And he's like, the first thought I had was, oh, cool, wonder what they're filming here. And then he's like, the second thought I had was, shit, this is probably gonna fuck up our production schedule. And then he said, like, a PA came up to him and was like, hey Josh, like, what's up? Are you looking for whatever? And he was like, wait, is this ours? And the PA was like, yeah.
That's awesome.
I know. So they had a very like surreal moment while they were filming this, which is really cool. Yeah. Like, I had never listened to any interview with them until I listened to that podcast, and they seem really cool. They've been working their asses off. They said they wrote their first film script when they were 22 and 24. I'm like, I need to.
People don't have the patience to give their side hustle 3 months, and these dudes waited 10 years to drop their fucking movie.
Yeah, I know. The interviewer was like, you know, do you need this to be like, what do you like, what makes this movie a success to you? And they were like, it got made.
Yeah.
Like, we're happy.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, very heavily inspired by their real life experiences, which that's why you could tell it means a lot to them. And you can see it in the film 100%.
Definitely. And, you know, we talked about the background noise. And so for a lot of movies, they have to go and do like post-production and record some more stuff. If there's any kind of sound issues, they have to re-record, whatever. And so they wanted to do that for this film. And when they first came into recording, I guess the sound editors were like, what do you need to record? Like, we didn't notice there being any mistakes. And they were like, no, like, we need to record all the background noise. And they had...
You just stick a microphone anywhere in New York and you're good.
They had 65 pages of post-sound recording they had to do.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they were like telling that story where they had a microphone and they were just walking around the Diamond District and like...
Is that really what they did?
Yeah, and they just like walked up to like a group of people talking, and the guys were like, do you need something? He's like, no. And he's like, they just continued talking, and I just stood there and recorded it.
I saw a funny, I don't know if this was Instagram, TikTok, a video somewhere, like how to tell if they're from New York or not.
Yes, I saw that.
And this lady is walking around New York somewhere, I don't even know what district, and she just starts abruptly screaming at the top of her
Mhm.
lungs, and like certain people turn around, other people don't care.
No,
And it's
I would
who
not
wants to
have.
turn around. They ain't from New York.
I would not have turned around.
No, I'm
No,
yeah,
no. You
whatever.
don't. You just so jaded
Yeah.
when you're walking through New York. I'm like, I gotta get where I'm going. I don't have time to like turn around and look at this psychopath.
And you're a Southern girl, it changes you. I'm
It
not
does
in New York. I
change
mean,
you.
lived in New Jersey my whole life, but
I feel like I have two different like personalities. Like when I'm in New York, I mean, I lived in New York for 4 years, so like I just like turn on a switch, and I'm like, headphones in, eyes straight, don't look at anyone, don't talk to anybody.
yeah, you know,
But then like
40 dudes trying to hand their mixtape in front of your face.
and then like if I'm walking around in Kentucky, I'm like waving at everybody, like
it's
smiling.
so different. I didn't realize that people outside New York, New Jersey area were friendly until I
Yeah.
went to college in Rhode Island, and like the cashier at 7-Eleven like tried to have a conversation with me, and I was like, "Why the fuck are you talking to me?"
You know, I remember we were in Rhode Island checking out somewhere, and
They like want to know about your day.
me and
It's
the
like
cashier, yeah, me and the
What the-
cashier were having like our whole life stories to each other, and you and Richie were like, "Come on, like let's leave."
yeah, it threw me off the film. Like, what the
Yeah.
like? What do you want? Why are you asking how my day is? Like, or like they don't even ask you how your day is. They just start telling you about theirs, and I'm like, I don't
No.
fucking care.
I love it.
I'm sorry. I was just raised different here.
I
It's
love
weird.
it. But yeah, it is different. Well, like part of my thing is when you're walking through New York, you come into contact with like probably thousands, maybe at least hundreds of people a day.
That's
Like
why
you don't
this
have
virus
the
is so
energy
bad.
to be like really nice to all of them.
No.
Yeah.
Just people. I don't like people. I don't like clutter in my fucking way. Just like move. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like New York all the time.
Yeah, that's why I'll never.
Which
live,
is why this-
never live there. Never have. Never will.
Yeah. 4
No,
years was enough for
Do
me.
not care about the money you make. I mean, look at it now. Even more so.
Yeah, I don't know
People
the
are
next
gonna
time
be-
I'm going
people are
into
gonna
the
be
city.
flooding New Jersey and buying houses here, even more so now than
Yeah.
ever. But anyway, off topic.
Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, they said they wanted to make this movie feel legitimate, like it was filmed in New York, it was chaotic. They were like, we hate movies where someone's having like a side conversation, like a private conversation, but like there's silence everywhere, so like it's clearly not private because like the people that are just like right over on the other side of the room could definitely hear them. And so
Yeah,
for
or you
them,
see
they
in
like
movies that they're like talking in the middle of the street in like
And
New
it's, like,
York, and there's like
no
no
sound.
cars
Yeah.
or no sound. It's
Yeah.
like that's not real.
Yeah. And so they said like at the beginning when Howard is talking to what's his name? The guy that works for him that's
Damani.
Okay. Talking to Damani, they wanted it to sound like, other cashiers were making sales and people were talking about the jewelry and they were like we wanted you to be able to hear that, which you could. Like
Yeah.
I remember like at the beginning of the movie, I was like, holy I don't feel like there's been like a silent scene
Yeah.
the first like 20 minutes of
Yeah.
the movie.
You want to be like Ed Harris, like shut the fuck up.
You
Everyone,
did, yes.
shut the fuck up.
You literally wanted to yell. You're like, shut up.
I know.
I can't hear. I can't hear what they're saying. I think I even said that too. I was like, I
Yeah.
feel like I can't hear the conversations.
Yeah.
But that was the point. And I think after watching this, like, I really appreciate what went into making this movie.
Yeah.
I think it was done so well. Makes me want to watch some of the Safdie brothers' other films.
Yeah, me too.
Now, I think it's the highest grossing A24 film.
Really.
Yeah. Now, I can't say it's my favorite A24 film
no.
by a long shot.
Hell no.
No.
Hell no.
So many good A24.
Yeah, but it's a great movie. I'm happy I bought it. Now I can rewatch it.
Yes. Definitely worth a watch.
Yep.